Okay.
Here at Buckeye Huddle, wrapping up a 37-9 victory for the Ohio State Buckeyes over the Ohio Bobcats. I'm Garrett Seawright. We'll bring in Mark Givler now to chat about the Buckeye victory, 3-0 for Ohio State. And really, Mark, in the grand scheme of things, when you look at this in the non-conference slate, this is as well, for the most part, as Ohio State could have asked for. Undefeated, number one team in the country, took care of business 3 straight weeks. From your standpoint, that has to be kind of the way we look at this, right? That this was best case scenario.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some things to clean up coming out of this game tonight. I think there's some things, almost probably a good thing that they had some issues tonight with certain parts of the game, and Ryan Day can sort of use the bye week and the lead up to Washington and kind of keep his foot on the gas in terms of pushing this team toward that game against Washington, which I think is actually a very sneaky, tough game. But yeah, I mean, look, they beat Texas, which was essentially a coin flip game. Mm-hmm. They, annihilate Grambling, and then, they win by 4 touchdowns here tonight in a game statistically that they dominated, but right. Again, wasn't clean from start to finish, but never a doubt really that they were going to win the game. And again, some things they can work on, and that's probably, again, not a bad thing heading into the bye week.
Now, you mentioned the things to work on. It's kind of a tale of 2 different halves, right? Where the first half, it was really clear that Ryan Day was not real thrilled with the execution, not real thrilled with the effort level. And the second half is this wildly different, just complete flip of that script where Ohio State really flat out put together a really, really, really nice second half.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the box score, and it's almost like, how was this game ever close? Mm-hmm. But you look at 45 yards of penalties in the first half. You've got situations where you're not finishing drives in the red zone, where you're settling for field goals, or they got stopped on 4th down. I thought the play calling and decision making by the offensive coaching staff was fairly conservative there in the first half, maybe more conservative than it needed to be. So yeah, some things to work on, but they come out in the second half. They give up that touchdown on kind of that long passing play, but then they go and they start airing it out a little bit. They get a little more aggressive in the passing game, pushing the ball downfield. And I think they got out of the shell a little bit there and were able to obviously pull away and give us a second half that we kind of expected maybe the first half to be.
When you look at that, too conservative is one of the 3 announced that we're looking at and focusing from tonight's matchup. Is that a hesitance to put too much on Julian Saint's shoulders? Is that a classic Ryan Day and Ohio State offense? We want to feel the other team out before we really put the gas pedal down. What goes into that conservative approach, especially in the first half?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Ryan Day says after the game here. My instinct on this is that you're going into a bye week. You want to be healthy. You're going to play a Washington team that's capable. This is a good Washington team. You're going to play in a tough road environment. And so if you can go out and establish the run and just sort of vanilla, your way to this thing without, putting too much out there, I think that's probably an ideal thing. They weren't really able to do that. Partially because of red zone execution and some key penalties. But I think, to me, I don't think they were protecting Julian Saint tonight like they did against Texas necessarily. I think tonight was more of a, let's just see if we can run this ball, just run the ball and just dominate that way and not have to really do too much else. And, OU, to their credit, with some bend but don't break defense, kind of kept into the game here into the third quarter and made them open things up a little bit in the second half.
One of the other 3 announced to talk about is it certainly appears as if there has been I don't want to jump to conclusions, but it certainly appears as if there has been a pretty big shift in the running back rotation, in that it might just flat out be Bo Jackson's job from here on out.
Yeah, it certainly felt like we watched Bo Jackson take over the starting job in this game, like mid-game. Not just like, oh, he earned it in practice this week, but it's like he earned the reps in practice this week. But once they saw what his reps were looking like compared to everybody else's, I think we just watched in real time a change in the starting running back. But we will see, what they do with that. I'm not so much concerned with who comes out with the first team on the first drive of every game as I am kind of the distribution of carries, which is what we saw kind of tonight, where things started to skew towards Jackson as the game wore on. Obviously, some of the other guys got into the game late and were able to kind of catch up a little bit, but I liked what Bo brought to the table tonight. I talk about quarterbacks having easy arm strength, where it's like, it's like they're not really trying to throw the ball far or throw the ball hard, and it just kind of it's easy. Bo Jackson has like easy vision. Like it's very subtle. Like it's not something where you watch him and it's like, okay, he's really kind of fighting it to see the hole. He is very decisive, and he's able to, while he's kind of moving and making his first cut, able to kind of see what's in front of him and just hit the hole and go. And so he a lot less, I think, stutter stepping than what we've seen maybe out of James Peoples at times. He's got a little more wiggle to him than CJ Donaldson has. And so these are all three, I think, good backs. I think they're all going to play. They all deserve to play. But Jackson, to me, is giving them something a little extra right now.
No, it's absolutely a great problem to have, where you have three talented running backs that you got to figure out, hey, how do we get everybody involved? But Bo Jackson, it's the second consecutive game where he has 9 carries, goes over 100 yards, 12.1 yards per carry. Now, I know a naysayer could say that's against Grambling, it's against Ohio. That's going to translate into the Big Ten slate when they go to Washington here in just a couple of weeks. But it is an impressive performance nonetheless. No matter how you'd like to shake it down, it was a really impressive performance by Bo Jackson, and also a really impressive performance by Caden Curry. We got the super chat from Ryan that says, Caden Curry beat a double team for a sack. Not bad for the smallest D lineman. Caden Curry had a monster night, was all over the field for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, he was extremely noticeable. That this was a nice breakout game for him. I know, like, the pass rush, people have been kind of like grumbling a little bit about the pass rush. I think they had 4 sacks tonight. They had a lot of pressures. I mean, a lot of pressures. Some tackles for loss, some batted balls, just very disruptive up front tonight. And I thought Caden Curry led the emotional charge and also the statistical charge with the sack. And he had another play where it just barely wasn't a sack. Like, I think he literally right at the line of scrimmage was able to make a play, and that didn't go in the books as a sack. So he was very close to having 2.5 sacks. Atkinson got the 1, and Curry was kind of right there as well, just after Atkinson. So this was a very disruptive game for Caden Curry, and very good to see, because, again, Cade McDonald's had a great season. I think a lot of people are happy with what they've been getting from the interior guys so far in terms of their pass rush and their push. I think people were kind of waiting to see the defensive ends pop, and I thought they really did tonight. Again, Curry led it for me, but I also thought they got really good stuff from Jackson and Atkinson tonight as well.
Now, I was going to say, following up on that, was that I think the entire defensive line has to feel pretty good about the way things went tonight, because there was constant pressure. There was, for as many sacks as there were, if that's a step quicker, if you shed the block just a moment faster, or if Parker Navarro holds onto the football for just a brief second longer, that goes down as another sack. To be able to generate pressure from the front forward consistently has to be something that I think you feel really good about going into the Big Ten slate.
Yeah, I mean, again, there haven't been many things to, we're always looking for things like to critique, and there hasn't been a lot to critique here these first few weeks. But I know the first 2 weeks was like, well, where are the sacks coming from? Where's, and again, very disruptive tonight. And the linebackers play a part in that. Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, especially Arvell, they're such great weapons to kind of bring some extra pressure or go with the 3-man front and, make them the fourth guy up front. But you want certain things that maybe you've wanted to see improve. You like seeing those things improve before you go into the bye week, and hopefully for them, they can carry that momentum through to the Washington game, because I did think, regardless of opponent, I did think this was by far the best game that front played in terms of getting after the quarterback. And look, OU, we can talk about them being a MAC team. That's fine. I kind of warned everybody throughout the week. I said, let's be careful here. This is a team that had Rutgers on the ropes,
right?
Beat West Virginia last week. West Virginia beats Pitt tonight in the backyard brawl. I mean, this is a team that we can look back on as a potentially 9-10 win team at the end of the year. I mean, this is a team that's going to win a lot of games in the MAC, and so I do think that you can throw away last week's result with Grambling. That's fine. But I do think there was a little more validity, I guess, to what they were doing tonight, given the opponent.
And when you look at the stats overall, Ohio goes, focusing on the defensive side right now, Ohio goes for 181 yards of total offense. Yep. Well, 67 comes on the touchdown. You wipe that off the board, and I don't think you can just say, well, you take that out, because it did happen. It was there, and that's one of the things that, I wish we had one back there. But for a 67-yard touchdown play, if you take that away, it's 120 yards on, 55 total plays. It's 3.3 yards per play. Despite the Bobcats being in the MAC, that's something you can hang your hat on and feel really good about when you sit down to watch the film on Sunday and Monday to go, hey, outside of this one play for the most part, we played really well defensively.
Yeah, I think, again, we can sit here and kind of nitpick some things we're saying in this game. We can nitpick, is the run game where it needs to be yet? There's some things we can talk about, but if there's one thing we know, I think already, this is an elite defense. They're disruptive, they're fast, they're physical, they're sure tackling. There's just so much to like about this defense. Matt Patricia's putting them in great spots. He's confusing opposing offenses. I just think that this is, going to be really one of those elite defenses where even if everything isn't firing on all cylinders on the other side of the ball per se, they're going to put them in a great spot to win every week.
And by the way, we're waiting for Ohio State head coach Ryan Day to come to the podium. We'll bring you that live when he does step up and step to the microphone and is giving his post-game thoughts. We'll have that for you here momentarily. But speaking of those things that maybe didn't go perfectly for Ohio State in the passing game, when you look at the day that Julian Sand had, there's a lot of good there. And there are a couple of throws that I promise you he wishes he could have back. The first interception especially, it's just one of those, I didn't see the defender in the middle of the field. Now, the second one is one that he probably might not think all that highly of himself after that throw. But at the end of the day, when you look at how things went for him, you complete 78% of your passes, 3 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, threw for 347 yards. The deep ball, especially for the 2 touchdowns later in the game, is a real bright spot and kind of gives you a window of what you could be looking at for Julian Sand down the line.
Yeah, I think this was a really interesting game in terms of there's so much to like about what we saw out of Julian Sand tonight. The deep balls were beautiful. The accuracy throughout the night was fantastic. At the second interception is probably a situation where you just want to eat that. You've got to feel the pressure coming. It was not well blocked. Your left tackle was beat. You got to feel that and just eat that ball and not turn that over there. But there's so many good things he's showing as well. And you see Ryan Day kind of get on him about maybe not making the right read here and there, but he always seems to come back and after a mistake and just correct whatever it was that he screwed up, he either fixes it or he comes back and makes a big play to kind of cancel that mistake out. So, but yeah, they have a guy right now that's throwing the deep ball better than almost every quarterback they've had in recent memory. There are very few quarterbacks I think Ohio State's had in recent memory that can throw a deep ball the way Julian Sand can throw a deep ball.
And it does when you know that you have receivers like Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and you have Brandon Innes in that line, Mylan Graham in the future. It just kind of gets you salivating because for a while it has been oh, well, they're playing two high safeties. We're not going to be able to throw the football deep. And with Julian saying it appears as if it has been, I don't really care if there's two high safeties. I sure like Jeremiah Smith's chances of coming down with the football. And I like the way that Julian saying throws that football to him. It really is a match made in heaven. As we wait for Ryan Day, the Ohio State head coach, we'll check in with Ohio head coach. Oh, no, well, looks like Jeremiah Smith is stepping to the podium. Let's see what Jeremiah has to say after the big win for the Buckeyes.
On there in the third quarter for you, and you guys had a lot of success there with the passing attack. What initially was holding you guys back? What'd you get fixed there?
Just we got to finish jobs. I mean, we was driving down the field on them guys. We just couldn't finish. That was really the main point coming in at halftime. We just got to finish our jobs, and that's what we did in the second half.
Over to the left, Cameron Teague Robinson.
Jeremiah, it's now 3 games with this offense, new quarterback, new running backs. What have you learned the most over the course of these last 3 games that you can take into the bye week and into Big Ten play?
Can't rush things. You just got to play as a team, as an offense, and just take it one play at a time. So that's all.
Spencer Holbrook.
Jeremiah, what did you see on the deep ball from Julian? Did you know when you lined up that you had him, or was it one of those things where
before we got on the field, Coach Dave called it. He was like, we're going to call this play, and you got to go get it. So I already knew the ball was coming to me. I just had to go out and make a play.
Over here to the left, Bill Rabinowitz.
Jeremiah, when you see man coverage, especially on a deep ball, what goes through your mind?
Coach Hartline always preach you got to win versus man on man. So that's what I'm told to do, and that's what I'm going to do. Regardless of his man or zone, I just got to go out there and win and catch the ball.
Jeremiah,
Jeremiah, I think 9 catches tonight, which ties your career high.
Yeah.
Were you aware of that? But what does that mean to you, if at all?
Don't mean nothing to me. Just got to continue to go out there and play football. That's all.
All right, last question for Jeremiah. Dan Hope.
Jeremiah, you had said last week that you were excited to see what Bo Jackson was doing.
Yeah.
To see him go out and have the game he did tonight, how much does that excite you?
Yeah, I've been saying it. Like I said, Bo Jackson is that guy, and you're going to see more of that throughout the rest of the season.
Great. Jeremiah, thank you very much.
Okay, we'll start here on the right. Go ahead.
Ryan, leading into a bye week, obviously there's a lot of things that you'll have to get better on and want to emphasize. But I guess coming out of this game, what were your biggest takeaways, and particularly in the run game, what wasn't clicking there? And what kind of burst does Bo Jackson give you in that run game that might solve some of those issues?
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at the numbers here. Yeah, Bo averaged 12 yards a carry. James averaged 6 yards a carry. CJ averaged 4 yards a carry. And I get Jeremiah had 17 on that run. We had 225 yards rushing on 31 carries. I don't know if that's so much the story as it is just not converting in the red zone. When you have on 63 plays just under 600 yards, I think it's more about when we got down into the red zone, we weren't able to execute, and those runs were not efficient. So I'm going to obviously watch the film and figure out if it was, scheme, if it was coaching, or if it was personnel. And we got to do a better job when we get down in the red zone. We got down there a couple of times, had to settle for field goals, and went for it the first time, went to kick the field goal the second time, didn't want to get greedy. And then on the touchdown to CJ, we don't get in. We step out of bounds at that moment in that game. Again, can't let ego get in the way and just kick the field goal. And let's not get this game into a situation we put ourselves at risk, because I felt like we were moving the ball well. We just had to finish these drives off, which is frustrating. But these are the things that we have to learn, and we learned a lot of lessons tonight as we continue to open up the offense, like in a 2-minute drill, or when we're throwing the ball. We have to learn when it's time to take a sack. These are all the lessons that we're gonna have to work through. And the only way to do that is to play through them. And there'll be some lessons learned tonight, but I was excited about the way that we didn't panic. And I think that's a sign of growth and maturity, because it's easy. And you can feel it in the stadium when things aren't going well. When, we come out and we just kind of moving down the field, and it feels like, wow, this is going to be one of those games. And then you don't score. And then before you know it, you come out in halftime you see the score, they score a touchdown. It's like, what is going on? And it's easy to everyone to tense up in that moment, but everybody kept playing. Brandon did a great job on the punt return to get us going. We threw the ball on the perimeter. I thought Jeremiah and Brandon did a great job getting Carnell, and then we hit the big post, and it kind of opened up from there. So, when we're firing all cylinders, you can see how explosive we can be. But if we're not going to score touchdowns in a red zone, we put ourselves at risk. So that was a really long answer to say there's a lot more to it than just the rushing attack, I think.
All righty, we'll go to the left, Rob Aller, and then we're going to come over to the right, Stephen Means.
Yeah, Ryan, when your defense has been as dominating as it is and has been, and they break a big one on you, is that almost shocking? And when something like that happens, because it's one little glitch, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have a very good scheme, and they do a nice job, and they really milk the clock and try to, shorten the game, which is smart on their end. And they're a good team, and they're going to make some plays, but other than a couple explosive plays, certainly the long pass, I thought our defense played strong tonight, did a nice job against, a good offense. They do a great job. The quarterback's very good, but I thought we were physical, ran to the ball, played hard. Again, there's a lot of issues there that we got to get fixed. There's no question. And again, it's our job to identify them and get them fixed.
Over here to Stephen Means.
Ryan, you've often talked about sometimes look for trends when you're trying to figure out what's wrong or what's right with the team. Did you notice some of these red zone issues maybe in fall camp or the spring, or is this maybe something that's been more surprising to you over the last
No. I mean, the throw to Carnell could have been a little bit stronger. I think Carnell, wishes he had that one back. He could have taken it over his head. The fade throw to Jeremiah, I thought we could have been cleaner. We just stepped out of bounds on the one. We did have a penalty. And when you start to drive right around the 10-yard line, you can't mess around in that moment. Like when you're trying to get a touchdown from first and goal from the 10, you got to be on point in everything you're doing. And I just think it was a little bit of a lack of execution. But we have good ideas down there. We have the right packages going in. I think we can coach it better, and I think we can execute it better.
We'll stay over here to Bill Landis.
Ryan, we saw Lincoln come on for that one short yardage play. Did you guys consider using that at all in the red zone? Has that been on your mind at all coming into the season?
Yes.
Use that in the red zone?
Yeah, and it will be. It'll continue to be, because the good news with Lincoln is Lincoln can throw it and he can run it. So I thought he did a nice job reading it. He found himself right behind that double team in the puller and hit it. So that was a good conversion for us. We do have more things for him, but the whole offense available when Lincoln's in there. So we'll keep looking at that and probably have some of that available. Not that, it's not going to be a surprise, so it's not a secret. Have some of that available in the red zone if we're having a hard time. Something to go to as a weapon.
We're going to go here to Spencer and then to the other side to Bill Rabinowitz.
Right, you guys have been really good situationally throughout the last, I would say, 7 or 8 games, and then tonight was what it was with the 2-minute in the red zone. How much do you take that into consideration when what you're planning for the bye week going forward? And do you have to kind of alter the bye week now that you kind of saw what happened tonight?
Oh yeah, we're going to try to identify those things, and you're right. And part of that is playing through it with some inexperienced guys, but there's no question. We turn the ball over in a 2-minute drill and we don't score in the red zone, so we better spend some time on that during the bye week, because you're right, situations are important. And in a game where they only have 55 plays and we only have 63. The percentages of situations become higher because you're not playing 70 and 80 plays. So we got to get better in those areas, and we'll make sure we address them.
Over to the left here, Bill Rabinowitz.
What's your assessment of Julian's play tonight? Statistically, the numbers are really good, but there were a couple of ones he probably wants back.
Yeah, I thought he played well. A lot of good plays, but what you have to learn as a quarterback. I say it's just like golf. Like, you can have a great day, but if you hit 2 in the water, your round's ruined. Well, it's the same way here. And, a tip ball in a 2-minute drill could cost you a game. And then, we got a chance to put him away up 3 scores, going to get our 4th score. And, in that moment, he knows he's got to take the sack, which is not something that he's had to do before. I think, we had the play open. If you watch it on film, Max was open on the sideline. I think he saw that. We got some penetration. Our guard got knocked off. And so the end came right up the field in his face. And in that moment, he knows he's got a third hand that, which is his chest. Go down, take the sack, take your medicine, and live to see another day. So a lesson learned. But But that being said, and he threw some good balls. I thought again he had good timing. I thought his deep balls were excellent tonight. The first one down the sideline of Jeremiah had a lot of air on it, which allowed him to go make a play. And I thought both posts were well thrown. Had good rhythm. But those are all good, and we got to play through those things. So it's good in a situation like this, and that's why I called the timeouts to get a 2-minute out there, because you got to play through these things and you got to learn from them. So, it was a spy that jumped in the window on him. How do you get in front of that one? When there's a spy right there looking at you and kind of mirroring you, you got to make sure you understand that, because the read was to throw the ball at tight end, but there was a guy right there and he tipped the ball in the air and created a turnover. So these are all the things, the more you play, the more you're remembering as opposed to learning.
All righty. Before we come over here to Austin, we're going to send Sonny Styles and Jalen McClain to the back. We'll come over here to Austin Ward. Austin, go ahead.
Ryan, you've said a couple times there are a lot of lessons learned tonight. I'm trying to figure out if you feel frustrated by what you saw tonight, or disappointed, or like you're hard to read right now because you still won comfortably, but I know you won't ever be truly satisfied. How do you feel about that overall tonight?
We're definitely frustrated in the first half with our inability to score touchdowns in the red zone, and then encouraged with the way we responded in the second half is probably the safest way. Somewhere in there's a lot of other things going on, but I think a lot of it we got to get on the film and identify it. The game was moving quickly, and but I will say again that I felt like the sideline, the players, the look in their eye, there was never any panic, which is a good sign for a young team. And we got to make sure we're doing our part as coaches, putting them in the right situation.
All right, we'll do 3 more. We got Joey Kaufman and then Cameron T. Robinson.
Ryan, what do you like about the way Bo Jackson is running right now, and how do you kind of work him in with CJ and James and
Well, he, the tight ends give us some versatility, as you could see tonight, just with some of the things we're doing. And then Bo Jackson, has some big playability, and he can catch the ball well out of the backfield. So, I thought, James had some runs, in the second half that were better for him. I thought CJ ran hard on a couple of good runs, especially the 3rd and 1 with the big grouping in the game. There was a free guy in the hole, and that's short yardage running. You got to run and be your own blocker, and he did. He ran through contact, so there was some good things there. But Bo has some home run hitting ability, which is a weapon for us, and we'll figure out how that fits in moving forward. And the more he plays, the more he's going to learn. But you could see the vision, and you could see the explosiveness.
2 more, Cameron T. Robinson and then Tim May.
Ryan, kind of off that, obviously, it seems like Bo has worked his way into that kind of rotation with those 3. How different is the feel or the rhythm of a game with a 2-back system, as you guys had last year and you guys are working with beginning this year, as opposed to working in 3 guys who you want to kind of get snaps to and feel the game out with?
I think we're still figuring that out, that rhythm, to be quite honest. You saw some groupings in the game where we had multiple backs in the game at once, not a lot of them, but a couple. We have multiple tight ends in the game. I think we're trying to figure out which grouping gives us, puts the most stress on the defense and puts our guys in the best situation to be successful. But I think the good news is, when you go from three wide receivers in the game and 1 tight end to 2 tight ends, 2 receivers in the game to 3 tight ends, 1 receiver in the game to 4 tight ends, no receivers in the game, 2 backs, 1 tight end, 2 receiver. Like, there's a lot of different things. And now the defense has to have different packages and prepare for all of those things. So, we're still trying to identify, because you have an idea what you're going to see in practice, but then it doesn't always carry over to the game. And then you see things in a game and you start to see guys have success. And as coaches, we got to put them in those situations more and figure out how to build on those packages. So a lot of work to do here in the bye week, because this run that we're about to go on is going to be a difficult run. We have to go to Washington. Just talk to the team about this. We got to come back, play Minnesota, then we got to go to Illinois and to Wisconsin, and that's going to be a difficult run. There's some good teams there, and so we got to make sure that we got our ducks in a row as we head into this run.
We'll wrap it up with Tim May.
Yeah, Ryan, what does it say about this team too, though, that 2 of your real dudes, Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, on those post routes really I'm not say bailed you out, but came up big when you really needed it the most. What did you say about it going forward?
Yeah, no, they're deep play threats, and then again, when you can throw and catch them like that, it opens up so many other things. And they were playing pretty low, lower than probably we expected, lower than we usually see, and so there was big plays to be had out there, and I think they kind of challenged Julian to throw the ball. Young quarterback, let's see what happens. And I thought it was a good plan. They did a nice job, and we didn't finish off the drives in the red area, and so they found themselves in the game in the second half. So credit to them. They've played well so far this year, and they'll have a good season. But you can see when we get those two guys in particular downfield, they're a major threat in any type of one-on-one situation.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much.
All right, guys.
So that's Ohio State head coach Ryan Day after the 37-9 win over the Ohio Bobcats. I'm Garrett C. Wright here in the Buckeye Huddle postgame show, joined now by Mark Givler. And Mark, I think there are some interesting comments there from Ryan Day, especially about the inability in the first half to play in the red zone. Actually, we're going to go to Julian Sain at the podium.
Trying to go vertical. He just wants you to let it rip. And you ripped it twice pretty deep. Talk about those two long touchdown passes and how that felt to convert that so well.
Yeah, great plays by Carnell and Jeremiah. I think we work on those throws a lot in practice, and Coach Day and Coach Fessler always are telling our quarterbacks, throw it high, give them air, so they can adjust. And they made two great catches, and was excited to see them come down with it.
Come over here to Stephen Means.
Julian, can you just walk us through the second interception specifically? Did you see the rusher coming your way? Can you just tell us your point of view of what happened on that second interception?
Yeah, felt the pressure. And, we talk about third-hand help when you're getting pressure in the pocket, protect the ball, put it on your body. And I was too loose with it, and obviously ball came out.
Spencer?
Yeah, Julian, what were the conversations like at halftime when you guys were moving the ball pretty easily and you weren't converting? What is that like for you as a first-time starter, and how do you feel like you guys adjusted?
Just keeping the energy high. I think, all the guys on offense knew we were moving the ball consistently. We just had to execute. And, it starts with me. But we got to execute more in the red zone. Those first three drives, we didn't get a touchdown in the red zone. So we got to do better there. And, it's all about execution and improving.
Left side, Bill Rabinowitz.
Julian, how much do you think a game like this will help you? Coach Day talked about, because you're so young, you're learning things, and now you can remember things. How important is that for you in your development?
Yeah, I think it's good to battle some adversity out there. Have the turnovers and see how we respond as an offense and how I respond. And I think it's good to battle some adversity out there.
Go to Brendan Gulick over here on the right.
Julian, you've played 3 games at this point. Obviously, you've got 2 weeks now before your next game. What are you most looking forward to watching on tape as it relates to your development, the things you're trying to work on, the way you're identifying coverages, or the way you're trying to develop your game? What do you want to spend your time on the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think within the next 2 weeks, it's about improving everywhere. Improving in recognizing coverages, improving and, commanding the offense and moving us down the field, improving in our red zone execution. I think, we can improve in all areas. And I think this next 2 weeks will be big for us.
Go over here to the left, Joey Kaufman.
Julian, where do you feel like you could improve in terms of like the red zone, which is sort of talk about the execution there, but what do you feel like you can do better there?
Yeah, I think we got to stay on schedule a little bit better in the red zone. We got in the third and long in the red zone, and that's a little bit tougher because there's not much space down there. But also just our timing in the red zone, and it starts with me, and then we got to get on the same page with the receivers on our timing.
Come over here to the front row, Tim May.
Yeah, Julian, I was watching in pregame warm-ups and stuff. You were ripping the ball on those deep routes and stuff. And then in the game, you had the two to take, and Jeremiah. And what is it like to hit those? But number 2, if you worked really hard in that regard. And then number 3, what's it like to have those two guys to kind of pull y'all out of the mire a little bit?
Yeah, it's awesome because we work so much on it in practice. And, you saw it in pregame warm-ups. It's awesome to have this success on Saturdays and see it go down like that. And, they made some great catches out there.
And last question over here.
I know you don't want to come off the field, but knowing how close you guys are in that room, to see Lincoln have this role to get on the field and have an impact on games, what does that mean to you and just what he gives the offense?
Yeah, it's awesome. His ability to, pick up a third down for us, when it was 3rd and 2, and awesome to see him come in and run through contact.
Lincoln, thank you very much. Julian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Julian Sand, not Lincoln Keenholz, at the podium for Ohio State, and joined again by Mark Gifler. And Mark, I thought Ryan Day's comments about especially the red zone execution were somewhat interesting because he kind of left the door open to, hey, if we need to, we're willing to use Lincoln in that role, kind of a la 2015, where Cardale Jones is going to be the starter, but if we can't convert a red zone, we're not afraid to put JT Barrett in. I'm certain that Ohio State probably doesn't want to be in that situation, but left that door open here after this win over the Ohio Bobcats.
Yeah, I mean, he gives them a little bit of a different dimension. He's a much bigger guy than Julian Sayin is, so he gives you a little more pop when you're trying to get that extra yard or two. I don't love the idea of like having a red zone quarterback and then a quarterback that takes you between the 20s, but I do think there will be some value there, maybe just in a short yardage situation here and there where he can kind of come in, get you some advantage there on the numbers with having the lead blocker and just him able to kind of just get downhill and get you a yard or two, or even go under center and take quarterback sneaks, because again, he is a much bigger guy than Sayin is. But yeah, I mean, it's always nice to kind of be able to reward guys organically in terms of getting them into packages that make sense and not having to like force them in there for some reason that doesn't really make sense. So there's a sensible way that he can help you. And that's always a good thing. And of course, Ryan Day did mention the red zone stuff quite a bit. And the other thing I like that he mentioned was the deep ball stuff with Sayin. We were talking about that earlier, and just he has a knack for throwing it. And the other thing he's rarely done so far, if at all, is he doesn't overthrow it. And there's an underrated like thing there where it's like you can underthrow a deep ball because you can still get a PI, or your receiver can come back to it and catch. But if you overthrow the deep ball, your receiver has no shot. So he's done a really good job of giving his receivers opportunities on those deep balls where they can go and make plays instead of, overshooting it by 5 or 10 yards. And it's a incompletion.
Yeah, I love the idea that, hey, we've been coached to, if you're going to do one of those things, underthrow it a little bit, because I like our chances with our guys versus their guys of coming down with the football. From your history and experience of evaluating the quarterback position and the quarterback play, how far into the development of a quarterback does being able to throw the football down the field, especially the way that Julian Sayin has been able to do so, how advanced into that development is that portion of their game?
I mean, I think Julian's is very advanced. I think we saw like CJ Stroud by the end of his time at Ohio State threw a really good deep ball, but it wasn't always as good as it was his last year at Ohio State. I think early in his career, he didn't connect on it at such a high percentage as he did later in his career. So it's a skill that can be developed and improved upon, but Julian seems to have a very just a natural ability to do this. We've been seeing this in practice at the opportunities we've had to watch practice in the off season. You could kind of tell, like, yeah, this is one of his strengths. It's just some guys are just naturally very good at it.
And you see being naturally good at it leads to 347 yards through the air, a 47-yard touchdown pass, a 49-yard touchdown pass in the second half. So things going pretty well for Julian Sayin. He admitted that second interception is one of those where I got to learn to just eat it and live to fight another day, so to speak. But overall, it was interesting from my perspective to hear Ryan Day say essentially, because he was flat out asked, like, it's hard to judge your emotions right now. And he said, I'm frustrated, especially with the way that the first half went. And then also to flip that around on the defense and be like, yeah, that went really well for us. So I wonder from your seat, whether you think that the frustration is maybe a bit from the idea of, yes, we're not converting in the red zone, and Ryan Day is very clearly an offensive guy and is going to be more clued in and tuned in to that side of the football, or if it is just a product of the production from each side of the football, and the offense from his perspective just simply hasn't been up to snuff thus far.
I just think when it comes to the offense, he's a perfectionist, and we've seen several times over Ryan Day's tenure where it felt like the offense was carrying the defense. And when you get into a situation where, I mean, at this point in the season, where I think it's obvious that defense is the stronger of the two units right now, that could change over the next few weeks. But it looks like obviously now the defense is the stronger of the two units. I think Ryan Day is his natural inclination is, well, I'm the offensive guy here. We need to be just as good as the defense. We need to be better than the defense. And so I think he's just being a perfectionist in some sense. Also, again, there's some valid stuff from tonight just in terms of the red zone execution. But I think the thing with Ryan Day on the offensive side of the ball is I think he's always going to have things that he wants to challenge his skill guys to. And it's such a high bar because of all the talent they have. I mean, they've got several first-round draft picks, in my opinion, in the wide receiver room. They've got a quarterback who's very talented. They've got a very good offensive line, deep offensive line. And we can talk about that a little bit with Tegra Shabola gets a couple penalties, yanked right out of there. You can only do that if you feel good about your backups. And so that's going to be something that I think helps them all year is hey, if someone's, whether it's the running backs that we talked about, whether it's the offensive line or even a receiver room, if someone is not producing, if someone is not either, whether it's great effort or mental mistakes, whatever it is, you can be pulled out of there. They will put somebody else in the game and be very comfortable with whoever that is. And so I think the depth on this team also showed a bit tonight at certain points.
Looking at the defensive side of the ball, someone we haven't talked about all that much here on the Buckeye Huddle postgame show is Arvell Reese. Another good performance. He's really come into his own over the course of the last, I don't know if 8 games is maybe 8 or 9 games, but there have been definitive steps forward in his game and in his progression. The leading tackler tonight for Ohio State. How much have you seen that step be taken by Arvell Reese over that time frame we've mentioned here?
Yeah, it feels like he is processing much faster. He's got a better understanding of things. He's always been a guy who's aggressive and physical and can run and do all of these things. But he's it feels like he's just taking all these incredible athletic talents he has, and he's now a great linebacker where even if he wasn't, if he was an inch and a half shorter and 20 pounds lighter and maybe a tick slower, he would still be a really good player because he's turning himself into a really good, a guy who he's honing his instincts, I guess would be the best way to put it. And just seemingly more comfortable, reacting quicker, he's really been phenomenal. And I said after the Texas game, he wasn't a guy who people were watch out for the Buckeyes this year. I think people were thinking maybe he would come out this year, have a good year, and then maybe next year would be his year. And it's well, you better enjoy him now because he's playing himself right into being a high draft pick, but he's also going to be a guy who, in my opinion, coming out of left field in terms of what the national expectations were coming into the season, is a guy that we look back at oh my gosh, yeah, he's in the Buckeyes race. He's playing at that type of level.
No, it's going on in the chat right now of how much NIL money do we have to allocate for Arvell Reese to stay to be comparable to a first-round NFL draft pick, because you're absolutely right. He's playing himself into that conversation, and the physical attributes are going to be off the chart at the combine. Should he decide he wants to, he's going to be a sought-after prospect in the NFL when he does decide to choose to make that leap. Somebody else who's in a similar situation is Jeremiah Smith. Already, 3 games into the sophomore season, is well on his way to going down in history as the best Ohio State wide receiver in the program's history. And there have been some good ones, but he goes 9 catches for 153 yards, a touchdown, a 17-yard touchdown run at the end of the game where he shows just incredible patience and the ability to really sniff out and a supreme understanding of the game of football at such a young age. Is really impressive to watch. But 19 career touchdowns, the fastest to 1,500 yards receiving in Ohio State history. What more can you say about Jeremiah Smith that hasn't been said already?
Yeah, the best compliment I can continue to give him is that I've been watching him since he was going into his sophomore year of high school. And I've never hyped a guy, I don't think, as much as I hyped Jeremiah coming out of high school. I hyped him before his freshman year started last year, and I said, people like, well, is he going to come in and start? I said, he's absolutely going to start. And people like, are you kidding? Like in this receiver room? I said, yes, absolutely. And then by the end of the spring, I'm like, not only is he going to start, he's their best receiver. And yet all the hype I've given him and all the expectations and all the compliments I've given him, and he still I still didn't set the bar high enough for what people were about to see. You can't set I've really never seen anything like it. It's a player that you cannot set the bar high enough.
And what's interesting, before we head to Tony Gerdeman and Tom Moore for the Buckeye Weekly podcast in the second half of the Buckeye Huddle postgame show, is for a player who plays at the level that Jeremiah Smith does, he has insanely high things to say about Bo Jackson, that he says, hey, Bo Jackson is that guy. Well, if Jeremiah Smith is somebody that people are, saying, like, we need to get in the Heisman Trophy conversation for this guy, if he's saying, hey, Bo Jackson is insane, that has to be really illuminating and exciting for Ohio State fans to be like, well, wait a second, if that guy has high praise for Bo Jackson, I think that the sky's only the limit for him too, correct?
Oh yeah, and we saw flashes of this throughout the spring and in fall camp, and thought, man, this is gonna be a really good player down the road. We'll see how much he plays this year. He'll play some, but how much? And now he's already looking like possibly their best running back. Super impressive. And last thing I'll kind of say on that is thank Carlos Loughlin and Ryan Day for that one, because there's a very real chance if Carlos Loughlin wasn't brought in and Tony Alford was still the running backs coach, they would have not landed Bo Jackson. So I'll just kind of drop that grenade and walk away as we pass it over to the other guys.
Yeah, Tom Orr and Tony Gerdeman are standing by. They'll take you the rest away home, guys.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Garrett, for handling the first half of the show. We will take it from here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, I remember walking down the ramp from the visiting press conference last week, tweeting out a screenshot of Ohio beating West Virginia, because that had just happened, and saying the Buckeyes are going to get a much bigger test next week. And then you check the replies on that, and you find the number of people who couldn't wait to tell me what an idiot I was. Tony, the halftime score was 13-3 today, and then it was 13-9 not long after that. And boy, that felt like a better test for the Buckeyes today.
Well, it was a test, but it was a test in a way like you may have got like a 72 on it, but it's because you spelled your name wrong and you were misspelling other words. Like they knew all of the answers. They were just spelling things wrong. That was what this test was today. And
was the test about the red zone?
There was a lot about the red zone, and I think they got the formulas mixed up, and so they'll figure it out. But we do have plenty to talk about. We'll get to the red zone. We'll get to Bo Jackson. Maybe we'll start off with Jeremiah Smith. But talking with some guys on the sideline on the beat, and they're like, what's the mood of the fan base after this one? Because there's kind of just a herky-jerky, uneven thing. Like, I'm sure everybody is very excited about Bo Jackson and Jeremiah Smith, and so you come out of this one pretty happy. And I guess with Jeremiah Smith, at this point, he has to be the Heisman frontrunner. I know the view of this show on Heisman is it is what it is.
Yes.
And you shouldn't make too much of it but that was when it was a quarterback. Now it's now more people can win it, but I think who else would it be at this point in terms of front runner?
I can't think of any. I mean, Dante Moore from Oregon, maybe, since it has to go to a quarterback from a top 5 team, but you really can't think of anyone. And I was talking to some people on the sidelines as well, and it feels like this is a year where you have number 1, you have number 2, and then just leave 3 through 5 on your ballot blank. And then you should put like 9 teams between 6 and 10. And then, after that, like, I don't know, you figure, I mean, you could put about 17 teams from 10 to 15, and I think that would be totally fine. Or 10 to 25, I mean. But it feels like, for as much as Ohio State fans, I'm sure we're a little bit frustrated in the first half of this game. I don't know that there's anyone who's playing substantially better than them. I mean, Oregon has looked nice and shiny, but Oregon doesn't have a win anywhere close to as good as Ohio State's win over Texas.
So are you saying Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia Tech?
I think, Ohio State, Oregon, vacant, Georgia Tech.
And then Georgia, maybe.
Well, maybe.
Maybe.
Super chat from Mike Farino. How's it going, guys? Game was definitely frustrating, but the thing that frustrated me the most was kicking field goals inside the 3. If you can't get 2 yards versus Ohio, it's really bad. I think they get them 9 out of 10 times. Tony, what did I say to you on the sidelines?
Something to the effect of be ready to talk for a while about kicking field goals inside the 5 or whatever. And I said, I will embrace this debate. So, Tom, go ahead, address Mike Farino's, he agrees with you. So, Mike,
he's right.
Question your thought there. Huh?
I think so. You have a drive for Ohio State that ends on the 2 that was a field goal. You have a drive that ends on the 4 that was a field goal. You had one that ended on the 20 that was a field goal. And I think we should look at the down and distance on a couple of these, because it was, if it's 4th and 10, I get it. You kick a field goal. Absolutely. You do that. 4th and 4 at the, 4th and 2 at the Ohio 20, you kick a field goal. And then 4th and goal at the 4th and 2 at the Ohio 2, you kick a field goal. So that's twice on 4th and 2, you're kicking field goals. And then the last one was, where was it? Where was the last one?
It was at the Ohio 4.
At the Ohio 4, and it was 4th and goal. From the 4, I kind of get it. And you can tell me 4th and 2 from the 20, okay, you're not pinning them deep. The one that to me is absolutely inexcusable, absolutely inexplicable is 4th and 2 at the 2 when you've been, I think they threw the ball on 2nd and 3rd down at least once before that. I think at least on 3rd down, they threw the ball there. And then here's the thing. Here's why the math says unquestionably you go for it. Unquestionably. If you don't get it, guess where Ohio gets the football? At their own 2-yard line. Guess where they don't want to be? Guess where you can very easily get 2 points and or get them off the field and get the ball back at the 50. That's not even a question to me. You've already kicked one field goal on 4th and 2 in the red zone. You're not kicking another field goal there. What are you doing? Like, you've got, if you get that, we have talked about the Grambling game being you can talk about all you want, you show me, and that's what I actually believe. They can talk about, we believe in our offensive line. We believe in our running backs. We think we can do it. If you're throwing the ball from the 2 and then you're kicking a field goal on 4th and goal from the 2, you just told me what you think of your offensive line, and you just told me what you think about your running backs.
Well, and the offensive line did struggle early on, and so did the running backs. But here's my theory. So
wrong.
So the first time it's 4th and 4, and they go for it, and they don't get it, and they're sacked.
Yes.
So then it's
now he almost got away from that one,
but he did not.
But he didn't
recall.
Yes.
And so then Ohio gets the ball at the 9. So you say 4th and 2 from the 2. If you don't get it, it's going to be at the 2. Not necessarily.
Okay.
But I think the second drive where they decided 4th and 2, we're kicking from the 20, that felt to me like punishment of the offense. Like, you didn't get it last time, so I'm taking the ball out of your hands.
Sure. You get one.
Right.
You get one.
And then
you used your one.
Right.
Now you used your.
Let me finish my theory.
You used your birthday wish.
I let you speak.
You used your birthday wish on the kick from the 20. You're out of birthday wishes, so now you have to go for it.
But what about my Christmas wish? Also,
no.
And then maybe thinking as a coach, okay, so we've got the 3 points. If we kick another one, that's like getting the touchdown we didn't get before. So now we've got 6 points, which is essentially a touchdown. I'm just, how coaches are. But I agree. 4th and 2, just go for it. But I don't think they just didn't want to have 2 empty possessions down, 2 empty red zone possessions. It looks bad. Even Ryan Day mentioned, you can't have an ego. And it's like, well, maybe sometimes you should.
You can have a little bit of an ego. You can recognize that you're a lot bigger and faster and stronger than the guy across from you, and you can just kind of go, squish. That's a thing you can do. They figured that out eventually, and they did squish it in the second half. You can do that a little earlier.
I think sometimes Julian Sands' ego has gotten him in trouble with the interception to Carnell Tate last week. And then, so it's like coaches trying to show we don't, like Brian Hartline calling the game against Texas with no ego, going into this one like, hey, we gave you 3 snaps to get a first down, and they did throw on 2 of those, and didn't get it. So, like, I'm firm on my thought with the first field goal. Like, this is punishment of the offense. The second one, generally they're going to go for that, but they didn't, and now you've got this 6-0 score that doesn't feel as good as you don't feel good about that drive. And so, do you want to? If you're not going to feel good anyway,
well,
why not just go for it and then let your defense do something? I guess.
Yeah, but you've got, if you're Ohio, and Ohio State has been in the red zone 3 times, and they've got 6 points out of that. How are you feeling? Are you
Pretty
feeling
good.
like, boy, how many of those are wins? Do you? If the answer is 3, then you should not let the opponent have wins. You should give yourself another opportunity to not have the opponent have a win.
Right, because this is almost a free down for Ohio State. Then Ohio has already won this drive unless you score a touchdown.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you have, and I don't want to make too big a thing of this because I do generally think that Ryan Day has, over the years, gotten more aggressive, which is generally more correct in how he's handled this stuff. Like if you go back to the Clemson Fiesta Bowl, boy, he played that conservatively, and just one thing where he had gone for it and made it would have been enough probably to make a difference. I think he has gotten a lot more aggressive in those situations since then. And to his credit, I've this is one of my little hobby horses where I feel like I ask him about his 4th down decision making at least once a season, and ask him about like what kind of analytics are you looking at, and they're bringing in companies to give them data and all that kind of stuff. So he has gotten a lot better. But it really stood out as uncharacteristically conservative for Ryan Day.
Well, and this is also a game where there were times where he's like, I don't give a crap about Ohio. I'm throwing Lincoln Keenholz out there. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But then it all still comes back to coaching. Like, I would just like to get some points. Thank you, Robert Howard, gifting 20 Ohio State football at Buckeye Huddle memberships on YouTube. We appreciate that. Another one here from Mike Farino, Super Chat. On the topic of Julian Sand, was that the worst good game you have ever seen or the best bad game? He looked like a player that was starting his 3rd game, but still wasn't bad, was just an odd game. And here's the thing, Tom. Ohio State has been so spoiled and jaded over the years with their quarterback play that when you get a game like this, Julian Sand, 25 of 32, that's 78% completions, 347 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That last one should be a fumble. They should have.
Right. He got hit. Right?
Yeah, he got hit. The ball came out.
He wasn't throwing it.
No, I don't believe it was.
Yeah.
But that's unfortunate for him that he gets tagged with an interception, still a turnover. But there were some small sample of bad snaps. He had maybe his worst throw that was like nowhere near really anybody, and that's like the first inaccurate throw we've seen from him. The first interception was a spy that he didn't see, basically just sliding in there, and it hits him, and it hits another guy, and then gets,
it was like it deflected off a defender, and then deflected off of Max Clare's
and so then they came down with that one, and then the second one was kind of just he didn't get to bring it in close enough, quick enough, and got tagged there. I think he threw some of the best balls we've seen from him. The deep shots were on point. I think the last one to Carnell Tate, there's a lot of them, Tom. But just running in stride and really just not even having to wind up and throw the ball 55 yards on a line and putting not on a line. There's enough air under there to run under. So 2 interceptions, not great, right? But 78% completions, 347 yards, using a number of weapons and receivers, finding guys in the flats, the outlets, the tight ends, Bo Jackson, the running backs. But are you judging him on the 2 interceptions where the ball gets knocked up and 3 guys touch it? It's like this is a 3, 4, 6 double play type of thing.
Yeah, it was like, do you remember the Miami Notre Dame game to open the season, and I think it was C.J. Carr threw an interception, and it was like a defensive back got his hand on it, and then a receiver or something like kicked it, like swung his legs up kicked it straight up in the air, and like a defensive end or something intercepted it. It was one of those like it was like a bank shot, off the wall, off the backboard, nothing but net. That was it was a dude perfect interception and dude imperfect. Yeah. Am I right? Yeah, it was. I struggle to say bad game.
Right.
It was an imperfect game. You made some mistakes. You're getting judged on a very, very tough curve because last year I think there was only one game where Will Howard threw multiple interceptions. That was a Michigan game. You'd rather throw it against Ohio than against Michigan. And one, as we said, one of them was kind of a weird bank, and one of them was really more of a fumble. He had a couple not perfect throws, and the first throw to Jeremiah Smith on that opening drive, the real long one down the sideline, Jeremiah had to kind of slow down and come back for it. So it wasn't perfect, but it was. I look at this and I go, this is a player who is I have never once looked at him and gone, I don't know what they see in him. Like, man, like I get it. Like he's young, but I get it.
Yeah, no, he's learning all of these things for the first time, and the plan is don't do it a second time. Super chat from Robert Howard. Julian's deep ball is a thing of absolute beauty. He threw some nice ones. Remember last year, this took a while to get the deep ball going. I don't see those issues this year. And from the first throw to Carnell Tate against Texas, it was underthrown, but the key was to get it up in the air and give Carnell Tate an opportunity to grab it, which he did twice. And then here he was hitting guys in stride and just letting guys run under it. And then also, I think it was the first touchdown pass to Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah on that post wasn't open until he was. And it's like when the ball was gone, when the ball was thrown, the defensive back was running with him, and Julian threw him open. It's like, go get it. And he did.
Yeah. And I think you have to take all of this with a little bit of a grain of salt because, it was close for a long time, but you had the CJ Donaldson touchdown, which I think they ended up kicking a field goal on that drive, where it was a CJ Donaldson touchdown and his foot was out of bounds by that much. Yeah. And there was another one. Was there another one? Oh, the Kenyatta Jackson, the Kenyatta Jackson touchdown that was not a touchdown because it was like very clearly a fumble, very clearly a fumble. But you score the touchdown on the CJ Donaldson because his foot is that much backwards. And you're looking at a very different, you're only talking about 2 field goals in the red zone, and you're talking about 41-9, and that's right exactly where we all kind of had more or less our score prediction. So I think you look at this, and it was, what did we say all week? This is going to be kind of an annoying game because Ohio is a team that's going to be kind of frustrating. It's going to be kind of frustrating. The game ended up kind of exactly where we thought it would. It took a little longer to get things going. But then, Ohio State sort of did the guy tapping his head gif, where we can't score in the red zone. Aha, we will just throw over the red zone directly into the end zone. Guy tapping his head.
I'm just looking. No punts from Ohio State today, by the way.
No.
And 5 of 6 in the red zone. I think were they 2 of 6 on touchdowns in the red zone? Is that how that works?
They were. You would think that would be in the drive statistics, but you would be incorrect
because you got a 17-yard rush and a 16-yard touchdown catch. So I assume that it's there. You go.
So I look at this, and from Julian Sand's perspective, it's not perfect, but it's plenty good enough, and you can see the progression, you can see the growth, you can see everything with him that you can tell what it's going to be. This is you see the 5-star in him. It's a young 5-star. It's a developing 5-star. But you see it. You can tell where it's going. So can we talk about Bo Jackson now?
Well, we had let's knock out these super chats.
Okay, sorry. I was in the wrong.
Because one of them leads to Bo.
Okay. So Wingman Ted wants to know, can we just for a moment discuss Georgia Tech beating Clemson? Clemson 1-2 right now, and we were talking in the press box before the game. My advice to Dabo Sweeney would be to win out or to make plans to not be in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I don't know what bowl they're looking at right now, but it's not something the Clemson fans are going to be happy about. But they started slowly last year, and we all wrote them off. And then down the stretch they came. They're going to have to win the ACC, and that was. I don't think it was a huge shock. I don't think it was a shock at all that Georgia Tech was able to do that. I think some people were surprised that Clemson's NFL defensive line did not hold up that well.
This is the second year in a row that we've been told that an ACC team has one of the best defensive lines, NFL defensive line. I mean, last year it was Pete Thamel in Ireland telling us that Florida State was about to revolutionary. Florida State was about to shock the world, and they did. Brackets derogatory. So Georgia Tech, man, I don't know how long he's going to be at Georgia Tech, their coach. If he stays there,
Brent Key.
Brent Key. Yeah, I was thinking Brent Key, and I thought, no, that's wrong. He's the guy at Virginia Tech who's about to get fired. No, that's Brent Pry is about to get more like Brent Pryor. Am I right? Yeah, Brent Key at Georgia Tech is like, he has done the stuff that for years and years and years people have said, well, if you could just get Georgia Tech's a sleeping giant. Like, if you remember the Georgia Tech game last year, it is carried forward to this year. Haynes King is a dude.
Yeah.
And that is a team that no one in the country would look at them and go, oh, good, we have Georgia Tech on the schedule. Like, no, thank you, do not want.
Let's see what they can do when Haynes King is gone. But if they're not careful, they're going to get added to the Big Ten.
It is not out of the realm of possibility. All right, now super chat from Mike Freno. What will it take to let Bo Jackson get snaps inside the 10? They don't seem to allow him to play there despite him being the best back. One of the drives, the one where he had the 64-yarder, that I think that was you just had a long run. You just ran a long way. You need to come out and get a breather. So that was one of them. I think they're also are trying to make sure that the other running backs are aware that they're not playing anymore. There was a drive towards the end of the game where it was like try not to make it too obvious that these are the guys who like, hey, we got to get these guys some carries.
Well, and twice in the post game, Ryan Day was asked about Bo Jackson, and both times he started talking about other people first. And when the second time it was like, what'd you think about Bo Jackson? And what does he give you? That sort of thing. He's like, tight ends, the tight ends really did a good job playing 12 and 13 personnel, allowing us to do different things. But then eventually, like, he has to talk about him. But also he's mentioning, and James Peoples closed well in the second half, and CJ Donaldson had a tough run in there when, you've got to be your own blocker at times, and he did that. And it reminds me of past times when he's not wanted to be too over the top, too effusive with a true freshman out of respect to the guys that are already there.
Well, and also out of respect to this is he didn't play in the game one. This is the second game he's played it. Now, both games he's played in, he's had fewer than 10 carries and more than 100 yards. That's good. So I don't think that's going to be something that continues forever. And I also don't think he's going – I think people are looking at him and going, well, if you give him 27 carries, then he'll have 327 yards. Why don't you just do that? And it's like, no, that's not really how this is going to work. But they want to – you saw last year what a running back rotation does for the running backs, for the team, for everyone. And you know how long the season is now. We all watched how long that season was last year. They're going to keep rotating the running backs. And yes, you get the where's Poochie thing as soon as it's anyone else in there. But also, when you're in the goal line, you kind of want to see CJ Donaldson because CJ Donaldson tends to push the pile, fall forward. That's, Bo Jackson is more likely to rip off a 60-yarder. CJ Donaldson is more likely to move the pile.
Rip off your arm.
But move the pile, fall forward, get that, I think Bo Jackson or CJ Donaldson, each of CJ Donaldson's touchdowns this year has been CJ Donaldson just in the middle of a massive humanity and getting the ball 6 inches over the goal line.
Yeah. So Bo Jackson, 9 for 108 last week, 9 for 109 this week.
If these trends continue,
9 for 110 at Washington. And in terms of James Peoples, so last week he averaged 7.4 yards per carry. This week, 6.7. It's the slow start, in the games for him, and then the fast starts for Bo Jackson, where it's like you've got people that are I was talking with somebody in the press box, he'd mentioned Bo Jackson, and this was before the 64-yarder, and he's like, it's only a matter of time. And he just said it's only a matter of time. And I'm like, you think he's going to start this year? He's like, he's already doing it. Like
he has the most carries on the, he tied for CJ Donaldson for the most carries.
And he is the most effective guy.
Mm-hmm.
But as Ryan Day said, they're still trying to figure out how to use this 3-back rotation, because I do think it's going to stay 3 backs. But at some point, in terms of why didn't Bo Jackson go in there after the 64-yarder? I mean, they had 3 plays. He probably could have been in there on that 3rd play. It reminded me of like, is he that out of breath? Is he Tyreek Williams as a sophomore type of thing? Like,
I don't know.
I understand the first down.
Yeah, I don't know if they view him. I mean,
But he also fumbled last week.
He did, and they've seen a lot more of him in all of these situations than we have, and so maybe he is. Running backs have different styles. Running backs have different strengths and different weaknesses. CJ Donaldson may be their best bet. You get the touchdown vultures in fantasy football, right? Like, you have your goal line guys. Hassan Haskins was Michigan's goal line back. Hassan Haskins scored all sorts of. You have faster guys out there, but those aren't the guys you're necessarily putting in, because you don't need to rip off a long one. You need to be able to pound it in, and this is one of these fun with numbers things. But we talk all the time about the one long run that skews your average. And Bo Jackson rushed for 12.1 yards per carry. James Peoples, 6.7. You take out the 164-yarder for Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson had 8 carries for 45 yards, and James Peoples had 7 carries for 47 yards. So it's essentially the same, but Bo Jackson had the long one. Now, of course, that is to Bo Jackson's credit. And yes, of course, you would prefer to have a 64-yard run every game. I get it. But I think down to down, excluding the one long one, those guys put together pretty similar nights. And James Peoples had 6.7 yards per carry with a 17-yarder as the long, where you're not completely skewing the numbers. That's a really solid night.
Well, and one of my bold predictions was that he would have at least a 34-yard carry, and he was on his way. That was that 17-yarder.
So he didn't, is what I'm hearing?
It turned into a 17-yarder rather than a 34-yarder, which is the deepest cut of all. But he was turning the corner on that one and just got tripped up. And there were a couple of guys that just got tripped up from having some longer, more explosive plays.
Tony, I regret to inform you that Ohio State did in fact score in all 4 quarters, and Ohio did in fact scored in 2 quarters, but one of them had to be the 4th quarter, and it was not. So you got me. Sorry.
Is that
Yeah, sorry. I was all excited, and now I'm not.
I was close to hitting my 4 touchdowns for Jeremiah and Carnell.
Close to means you didn't, right? Okay. Super chat from Mike Farino. Peoples did have a beautiful pass block on one of the deep shots. I don't remember which one. I don't remember which one either, but this is one of the things that we talk about all the time with these running backs. It's great that you can rip off a long run. How are you in pass pro? How are you in blitz pickup? How are you catching the ball? How are you with ball security? And I don't think Bo Jackson has given them any reason not to. I mean, unless you saw the issues with, on the play where Sayin got a hit, was that a bad blitz pickup?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
I didn't have a good view of it, but you're looking at that stuff as well when you're evaluating which running backs you're going to play. And I don't care how good he is. He's not getting the ball 25 times a game.
Right.
He may get, they may reallocate the carries a little bit, but 9 carries, 7 carries, that's a pretty good balanced use of, if you could do that every week, they would love that.
Yeah, and they may not get into the kind of rhythm that people would like to see during the season, but just remember how fresh Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins were in December and January last year. And I don't think anybody remembers, did they ever get to a rhythm during the regular season? Were there struggles here or there? It's all I remember is how fresh and how much faster they were than everybody else in the playoffs.
Well, and this is not a game where you're super, super worried about, I got to get into a rhythm. This is a game where you knew you had more talent. You knew it was going to be closer than last week, but you knew you were going to win. And so you don't have to stress about getting, we have to get these guys in this, these guys have to have carries in this order. I mean, you kind of figure it out. It'll be interesting to see in a couple weeks at Washington on the road. Does the true freshman get
Well,
early.
that's a
would
huge thing.
assume he probably does if he has a couple good weeks of practice.
And if Bo Jackson if he is the most effective guy this season so far, in the 2 games against the worst competition,
yes,
that is key. You have to keep that in mind. How willing are they to go with a slow start against Washington if he proves in the next 2 weeks that he gives them an opportunity for a fast start? Or they'll probably come out throwing the ball anyway, so it won't matter. But super chat from Ryan Dawes, keeping the Hendricks touchdown catch in mind, the OSU defense was impressive tonight. Washington will be a really fun game. Thank you for that super chat. Lorenzo Styles Jr. was right there for that coverage. He just didn't necessarily turn his back and find it, and then, of course, broke free of that tackle. And this is stuff we saw Chase Hendricks do in the first 2 games as well. Did he go for 100 yards in this one? 3 for 76. So this is his first game being held under 100 yards this season. He's a tough dude. Lorenzo Styles is right there. I think the other question that comes to mind is, how healthy is Lorenzo Styles? Ryan Day did not have an update. I don't know if he was hurt his hand or something like that. He was right away. He knew he was hurt, and then went to the tent. No update there. When he was out, they brought in Devin Sanchez to play corner.
Yeah, he played a bunch.
Moved Jermaine Matthews to nickel, and that's what they will do moving forward as long as Lorenzo Styles is out. And then when they went dime, they would bring in, I think Malik Hartford came in. I didn't see Bryce West while the starters were still out there. But that was exactly what I expected. Once Lorenzo Styles went down, I was like, well, they're just going to bring in Devin Sanchez at corner, move Jermaine Matthews inside, because that's what they do in dime.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any issues with those guys.
Yeah, no, I think they had you look at the stats, and you gave up 2 yards per carry on the ground, long of 11, and the 11 was a quarterback scramble by the backup quarterback. And on the passing, they gained 113 yards on 21 completions. So that's basically 5 yards and some change per completion, which is terrible.
Well, it's 10 completions.
Sorry, yards per attempt, which is 5 yards per attempt is terrible. Like 7 yards per attempt is, well, that's kind of competent. 5 yards per attempt is a disaster. And they had a 67-yarder. So you take that out, and then you're looking at 40-something. You're looking at 2 yards per attempt. Ohio had one play, and then they did nothing else basically the entire rest of the game. I do want to let you guys hear a little bit about that one play. We have a clip from Ohio head coach Brian Smith. He gave a nice, I like his press conferences. He's not the most flamboyant guy or anything like that, but he had, I thought, a really interesting answer on just sort of explaining what they ran on that long touchdown play to Chase Hendricks.
Yeah, that RPO concept. They were in man coverage, and Chase was running a inside fade. So something that we rep a lot of. I think Parker and Chase have developed a really good relationship and connection. And both of them making a lot of plays downfield and into coverage. I think Chase has done great early in this season of making plays when he does have tight coverage. And then I think what was great to see him was the determination after he caught it, that breaking the tackle and finishing in the end zone. It was awesome.
So that was Ohio head coach Brian Smith. Again, nothing complicated there, but just a nice sort of explanation of the whole thing. So I thought that was worth letting you guys hear, because that was it. That was their offense pretty much all night. The fact that it happened coming right out of halftime, I think it probably, everyone was like, oh, I'll have some chips and salsa, and I'll have some buffalo dip at halftime. And it was like, oh, this heartburn all of a sudden, as all of a sudden it's 13-9 and a little closer than expected.
I will have you know, there was no Klondike freezer at the end of the third quarter up in the press box today like there was last week. So
here's a super chat from Mike Farino. The topic du jour of in our little private chat here says, assuming no miracle on the final play coming up, and there was no miracle, Notre Dame has been eliminated from the playoffs. USC is their only remaining hope at having a ranked win at the end of the season, and they probably won't be.
Well, Notre Dame can still win their conference.
Man, can we listen? Could you get a global pandemic between now and the end of the season to get them back? They worked in 2020, got them in the ACC.
Got to talk to the Vatican.
Listen. I'm not sure that would be the first wish on my list, but
that's Dan Brown's next book, by the way.
Marcus Freeman breaks into the Vatican archives. Yeah. Now I have a hard time saying definitively out right now.
They're not going to lose again.
They're probably not going to lose again. And the other thing is, you can say, "Oh yeah, they're out." Like same thing with Clemson.
Yeah.
That involves other teams winning out. How many other teams do you feel super confident are? How many teams are going to finish 10-2 or better this year? Because it feels like the answer is less than 16. So someone's probably getting in with more than 3 losses, just because it doesn't feel like you have that many really dominant teams, because you also don't have that many terrible teams in a lot of these conferences. So I think, you look at the Big 12, it's kind of fair. I mean, Kansas State is terrible, like surprisingly terrible, but you've got 8 to 10 pretty good teams in the Big 12. You got 8 to 10 pretty good teams in the Big 10. You got whatever number of, some would say 16, Tony, incredible teams in the SEC. But, you have I don't know, maybe one competent team in the ACC, but you're going to have a bunch of these teams knocking each other off. So I don't know that I would say, until someone gets a third loss early in the season, I don't think I would go definitely out, but I would not choose to be in Notre Dame's position right now if I had the option.
Notre Dame may have one game left against a ranked opponent. That's USC at home.
Yeah.
One of the issues that Notre Dame is going to have is they will be competing against other 2-loss teams. Some of those 2-loss teams are going to have 11 wins compared to their 10.
Yeah.
And whether that's a loss in the conference championship game, that's going to count more than anything Notre Dame has done. I'm not counting them out just yet. I do think USC could beat them in October.
Tony, when you look at Notre Dame's struggles, now I know they put up 40 points, so this is really me really trying to shoehorn an old joke in here.
Okay.
Would you say that Notre Dame needs a new car with Les Miles at quarterback? That's a real.
I'm just going to break it down the fourth wall here. Kevin is behind the camera. That is the third time he has thumbs down something that Tom has said. And frankly, but again, Notre Dame's 2 losses have come by a total of 4 points against 2 ranked opponents. So these are good losses. If this was Notre Dame should join the SEC, they'd be ranked certainly after these 2 losses. So I'm not ready to say they're done, but they are on life support. This is not an Irish goodbye just yet. We'll wait for one more loss.
And you got to remember, they were off last week. They have not won a football game yet this season. So,
but they do play Purdue next week.
Well,
let's see what happens.
Yeah. Well, although USC, I think, got the West Lafayette experience because it looked like, I think it was 33-17 or something, and Purdue is terrible. But that is a real welcome to the Big Ten. Like, oh, come to West Lafayette. Everything's going to be great. And it's just like, oh, what? Why are my shoes stuck to the floor?
Well, exactly. Like, you can only expect so much from a team after you've stayed the night at the Red Roof Inn and you've got noisy neighbors, and there's nothing pleasant about it.
Apparently Notre Dame went for 2 and didn't get it. Were they playing for the win at the end of the game? Interesting. Did they score at the end of the game? No. Okay. Someone says they went for 2 and didn't get it, but okay, earlier. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about Bo Jackson. We've talked a little about Julian Sayin. Jeremiah Smith, we've talked about. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Open the show with him.
Carnell Tate, 5 catches, 101 yards, another long touchdown, 49-yard touchdown, 5 catches on 6 targets. It's just very clearly the 2 outside receivers. I keep waiting for Brandon Ennis to do some Brandon Ennis stuff, and it hasn't happened yet. Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, though, man, those guys have been real good.
Real good. And I think Carnell Tate wants the one back that he didn't catch in the end zone on one of those third downs or whatever it was. And so do I, because of course that would have given him my 3-point bold prediction.
We know who it's all about.
Because he caught it last week, or it was Texas. It was last week he caught the one in the corner of the end zone, just didn't do it this time. I do want to talk about Brandon Ennis though, because the Brandon Ennis we're seeing now, or not seeing, because he didn't even I don't think he got targeted at all.
No, I don't
But
think so.
When we saw him in camp, he looked explosive. He looked dynamic, more so than before we had seen him.
Yeah.
Now, however, this is the same Brandon Ennis that we saw last year from what we're seeing now. And he did have a very nice punt return. Also had some nice blocks, which is another reason that he's going to continue to get snaps and stay in there. And I know people are like, you got to give those snaps to Mylan Graham. Mylan Graham is an outside receiver.
Yeah.
Brandon Ennis is an inside receiver. It's right now it's Ennis or Bryson Rodgers. I didn't see Bryson Rodgers. As I think about it, I didn't see him
I don't
out there.
think I saw Bryson Rodgers today.
And
no.
I don't know if he was banged up or because this is certainly a game that he would have played in because Mylan Graham played it. David
Right.
Adolph played in this one.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played early. So this maybe was one of those Logan George things for Bryson Rodgers, perhaps.
Yeah. But I think the fact that they are so loaded at tight end, I think that also dips into Brandon Ennis's playing time for sure. Because your outside guys are so good. Are you taking Jeremiah Smith off the field? No, you are not. Are you taking Carnell Tate off the field? No, you are not. Well, if you want to play 12 personnel, I have bad news for the receiver who is not those two guys. Like someone has to come off the field, and it's going to be this. It would normally be the slot guy, right? You're going to play your two outside receivers, and you're going to put your two tight ends in there.
It's up to the slot receiver to get good enough to be the guy that stays on the field, and an outside guy goes off.
Right. Yeah. And you look at the tight ends. 2 catches for Max Clare, 2 catches for Will Kazmarek, a catch for Jelani Thurman. Bennett Christian was banged up, didn't play, or you probably would have seen a catch for Bennett Christian. You can tell they really, really like the tight ends. This is one where they say they like them. They're showing you too. This is, the running joke about the year of the tight end. We're here. Godot has arrived.
Yeah, Nate Roberts was out there again as well. And boy, it wasn't that long ago. I'm old enough to remember when people were wondering if Brian Hartline would just, throw it to the receivers, throw it to the receivers. And they're running. I want to go back and check. Or I want somebody else to do it. Tell me how many snaps in 11 compared to 13, because they were playing 13 and 14, as well. So it's like, clearly, I assume they played more in 12 than 11 tonight. I wonder how close the 13 and the 11 are. I'm sure 13 is well behind, but again, all of those are snaps where you only have 1 or 2 receivers out there. So the snaps for Brandon Ennis or anybody else in the slot is going to be limited.
Mike Farino explaining here, and he didn't go for 2. The holder fumbled the snap, and the holder is former quarterback Tyler Buckner, so he tried to pass once it was blown up. So there you go.
Thank you for that, Mike. And I would encourage everybody in the chat to make some mistakes and then super chat corrections.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, that's new business. New business model just dropped.
We're gonna be rich.
All right. That's only if we make a bunch of mistakes. And when does that ever?
Well, not us, people in the chat.
So we've kind of gone through the offense now. Can we have? Well, yeah. Can we have the defense conversation? Because I know what the stat sheet says. I know Arvell Reese has 7 tackles, and Sonny Styles has 6 tackles, and Caleb Downs has 6 tackles, and Jalen McClain has 4 solo tackles. And I get it. I understand. Was that not the Caden Curry game? Because that felt long stretches. That felt like, oh, this is the Caden Curry game.
Yeah, and he was tough to block. He finished with 4 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, a breakup, a quarterback hurry. He's just. I can't remember which of his teammates says that he's just always going. Like he's nonstop. He's not the biggest guy, but he just roots around there and finds the quarterback. And I think his 1 sack came where basically you almost lost sight of him, and then he's the one that brings down the quarterback. And I think in Bo Atkinson as well got his first sack as a Buckeye. So this was not an ideal situation for the pass rush because initially they had you had to deal with the quarterback run, but then that kind of went away once the running quarterback went away, and so then you could do more and get after the quarterback more. But overall, 4 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 4 quarterback hurries as well. Although I don't believe in those stats because sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they exist, sometimes they don't. But there was not a lot of time for the quarterback. And certainly you had the one completion where the coverage was there and everything was dialed up correctly. He just didn't make it happen. But yeah, good to see Caden Curry doing that.
He was a lot of the times that he was effective, he was inside. Like he was lined up over the center. My favorite Caden Curry, I don't think I've actually pulled this photo yet, but my favorite Caden Curry photo of the night is not an action shot. It's after the center or the guard or someone like false started or hitched or something like that, and they blew it dead. And Caden Curry is just standing right over the guy, pointing directly down at him, like, "This is the guy who did it right here." And then immediately after that, you're obviously in the poor kid's head. And then immediately after that, he just blew whatever it was. He blew it up. He came right through the middle, and he was an absolute menace in the middle of that defense, that line. I mean, you get a quarterback with someone coming right up the middle at them, and not like, oh, this is a blitzer and he's coming clean. There's supposed to be a guy there. He has just been kind of like shunted off to the side, and now there's a big angry guy in red coming very fast at me. That is not a good time as a quarterback.
And I've talked about this before. The first time I ever saw Caden Curry in person was after the Big Ten rally to bring college football back after COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And we went to his high school game, and he played tackle, and he was unstoppable. And he's comfortable inside. He's quick inside. Again, not the biggest guy. He's probably 260-ish, 6'2"-ish, but was unblockable and quick and getting into the backfield, a straight line to the quarterback, which is a tough thing to deal with. One of the more entertaining issues with the defensive ends came on a scramble from Parker Navarro, and I think the third or fourth quarter. He got away, just barely threw the ball away, and Kenyatta Jackson had missed him, and a couple other guys had missed him, and Kenyatta Jackson was like down on the ground, and you can see he wasn't happy. And then the other two other defensive ends, because it must have been a third down rushman package. They're all like, can't believe this guy got away from us. And meanwhile, it's like 30-9 or something like that.
Yeah,
and they're just, you could have gotten that sack, could have padded that stat, but that darn quarterback got away.
I am just scrolling through the chat right now and really loving it. I saw someone who said how much they're enjoying the fact that these night games end before midnight. Now, the fact that this started right about at 7, that helps, and the fact that you've got the clock moving, and the fact that it wasn't a super competitive game.
Well,
all of that kind of helps. The clock rules help a little bit.
The first half was moving until Ohio State scores the touchdown. I go down to Kevin goes down to the camera deck to shoot halftime. I go down to C deck or whatever with like 2.5 minutes to go. Those 2.5 minutes in the second quarter took like 30 minutes.
Well, so I do want to give Ryan Day a lot of credit. Ryan Day managed his timeouts exactly correctly there. Exactly correctly, because OU got the ball back. Let me find an exact thing for you. They got the ball back at 2:29, and this was right after Ohio State had scored a touchdown to go up 13-0. And they Notre Dame gets, or no, not Notre Dame, another team with 2 losses. The Ohio Bobcats get the ball back with 2 minutes and 29 seconds left. And I said to the person next to me, Ryan Day needs to use his timeouts right here, so you get the ball back and you have a chance to score again. And then after a real long, sluggish, crappy first half, you have a chance to go in up instead of 13-0, 16-0, 20-0. And he used his timeouts exactly correctly there. Use the timeout on first down. Use the timeout on second down. On third down, the play ended with 2:03 left, 2:04 left, something like that. He let the clock run down to the 2-minute warning. You save the timeout for when you're on offense, just in case you have a sack or something like that, because saving 4 seconds, who cares? You use them on defense, so you can't, the opponent can't run the clock down. He handled that one exactly correctly. And that's why I'm a little more likely to not go, he's forgotten how to do this with the field goals in the red zone. That was why that took 17 years. He channeled his inner Tom Izzo and used all the timeouts, and lots of commercials. Got to sell some pickup trucks in the middle there, but that's that's why that stretched out so long, because Ryan Day handled that well.
Took a long time.
All right, so I have a couple others. Let's see. I don't know why
What are
we're
we doing,
punching.
Tom?
I don't know why we're punching stupid comments up. I would punch the smart comments up. But that's just me. Guess I'm built different. I did want to get to David Greenshaw wants to know if I'm wearing a 1980s Houston Oilers hat. Yes, Tony. I need you to name
92.
I need you to name 10 players off of the Tecmo Super Bowl Houston Oilers. You have, hang on, I'm going to set a clock. You have 15 seconds.
I'm not going to get 10.
20 seconds to name 10.
That's
Go.
many. Curtis Duncan, Haywood Jeffries, Warren Moon, Lorenzo White, Ernest Givens, Drew Hill, Bruce Matthews, and that's about all I can give you. Mike Munchak.
You named all the offensive skill players, so I'm going to give you full credit.
But I also got Bruce Matthews in there.
Yes. So, yes, the answer is yes. I have found that if I I got a lot of compliments on my Hartford Whalers hat last week. I got a lot of compliments on this week. I have found if I wear hats for teams that don't play anymore, no one is like, I'm angry about that for some reason.
I mean,
so there you go.
It is a blue hat.
It is. Hey, listen, you can always be angry about that. Just me, Tim says it's a trick question. No one played with the Houston Oilers. That was only true for the defense in the second half of one particular playoff game in Buffalo. See, yeah, lots of comments on here's one. Let's hang this one in the Louvre. Les says West Lafayette is what they base Stranger Things off
It
of.
is the upside down when you go there. That's a very good point. I mean, it's based in Indiana, both of them. And yeah, I like that one.
I'm trying to think if I have anything else I want to get to. We do have another soundbite. I've got to remember what the other soundbite is. It's oh yeah, so this was the Ohio coach Brian Smith talking about how much that they really struggled to run the ball. They finished 34 carries, 68 yards, and it was not they had it's all sack adjusted. No, it was their leading rusher Sia Bangura, 12 carries, 24 yards, long of 5. That's your running back, long rush of 5 yards. Duncan Brune, 9 carries, 19 yards, long of 6. When your running backs are averaging 2 and 2.1 yards per carry, you are straight up not having a good time. So here's Brian Smith talking about that.
It just took us out of opportunities for more convertible third downs. We try to put ourselves into situations where we can be really efficient, which allows us to control the clock, keep our defense off the field. And we were in way too many third and longs, which isn't a place I don't think anyone really wants to be there. So they did a good job knocking us out of the runs on early downs.
There you go. That's an impressive overall performance from the Ohio State Buckeyes. Also, Tom, impressive performance by you. Some great photos. You can check those out at BuckeyeHuddle.com tomorrow.
Yeah, you can find them on Twitter.
Get them done tonight?
You can find them on Twitter.
Today.
Yes. Later. Let's. There we go. Mike Frano super chat. One final thing: that McLean tackle is a thing of beauty. Laid the boom into perfect textbook head. This was one of the great annoyances of the day. There was a ref standing directly between me and I have it. It's all the way at the other end of the field. I have it in perfect focus. There's ref butt, Tony. You hate to see it.
You hate to see it. That was one of those tackles that happened. I'm like, was that Caleb down? No, that was Jalen McLean.
Yeah.
Remember, Tom, I told you a few weeks ago, who does Jalen McLean remind me of? I said Caleb Downs. He's a little Caleb Downs.
He is. He's been very good. The safety play. I mean, to say the safety play on a team that features Caleb Downs, to say the safety play has been good is kind of stupid. But also, the safety play that is not just limited to Caleb Downs has also been very good. The Ohio State secondary this year. I know Davis and Igmadosin got a defensive holding penalty, and that is. Someone asked about Davis and Igmadosin at the Wednesday lightning round with Ryan Day. And when I put together the show, I made a point to say, I wasn't the one that asked it, so don't blame me. And then he got the holding penalty. He was like, all right. But the secondary has been really good this year. I mean, really good this year. I think that's the strength of a defense that is pretty darn good at the other two levels too.
Yeah, no, they all work well together, very, very well. And now they'll have a week off, and they're all going to have to work very well together against a Washington offense that can run and throw, and the quarterback can do the same.
Mhm.
So a stiff test coming. So that will do it for us. We will wrap up. Thank you all for the super chats and regular chats and all of that stuff. If you would hit the thumbs up before you go, we'd appreciate that. If you've not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. And of course, you can continue to find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Subscribe to that place as well. See us there on the Buckeye Huddle message board presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus. We would love to see you there. So thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you guys later.